2. Good afternoon. I want to, on behalf of the E.sposito family, I want to thank you so much for being here to celebrate the life of Vinny E.sposito. Clearly, by the number of turnout, that he made an impact on a lot of people's lives. And anytime you see a crowd like this, you can probably multiply it times 10 for those that couldn't be here. And so, but we are so grateful that you're here to share in this event. There are hard times. I always say in these moments, on one hand you have grief and sadness and tears over over the vacancy, the void that's in our life. But in the other hand, you hold someone who lived his life well, who leaves a great legacy, and people who love him behind, and lots of memories, some of them hilarious, that I hope you will hear today. It's just a unique period of time, and so we want to give you permission to unload your grief, but give you permission to laugh. And I mean, you do not need to feel guilty for cherishing some wonderful memories over the relationships that you've been able to build with this man over time. And so we hold both of those together. We give permission for you to experience all those emotions, but the family wants you to know that this is a celebration, right? This is a time to share some great memories together and recognize that, thanks be to our Father in heaven and Jesus Christ, that Vince has been welcomed home. And that we are not like a lot of folks out there who, when they grieve, it is a deep kind of grief that has no hope attached to it. But because of Jesus Christ, we are those who grieve differently, because we grieve with hope before us, and the knowledge that this isn't a permanent goodbye, but it's a see you later. And so we're just so grateful for that. A couple of housekeeping things. We got a very special guest going to stand up before you in a minute to lead us in a prayer of blessing over the meal and Thanksgiving for his papa. After we do that, we're going to give you a chance. It's buffet style for lunch. In my mind, I've seen how this is going to go. I hope we can all do it, but I think it's going to be best, because of the front of the line being here, that we would just kind of empty out from tables this way and wrap back around to the back side. And that way we don't, because there's not going to be a lot of opportunity to have U-turns going on, right? So hopefully we'll be able to keep a flow. Everybody can grab a bite to eat, and then we'll continue with our program once everybody's had a chance to sit down. So, at this time, I would like to invite Mr. Gino E.sposito to stand up in his chair here. I'll stabilize you. You want to stand right up here? Hold my hand. Yeah! And he is going to lead us in a prayer. You ready, Gino?
Help Papa and make him better. Protect our names.
Amen. All right, let's go ahead and go through the buffet line, and then we'll continue with our program in a few moments. So, if you want seconds with food, nobody's gonna look at you sideways for getting up and helping yourself over here. If you missed the open bar, I'm sorry. Oh, there wasn't one, I'm sorry. But all you can drink water and iced tea. All right. So we're gonna keep it just under crazy here today. All right. I didn't have the fortune to get to know Vince as well as many here. But I'm going to try to capture what I can based on some conversations I had with his family yesterday. But the real meat of the story will be coming in a few minutes when his son Jason gets up to share. Following Jason, we'll have an open period of open mic. If anybody wants to get up and share a memory with Vince, you're more than welcome to. And then after a certain amount of allotted time, I'll get up again and close this out. Vincent E.sposito was born on October 10th, 1951 in Naples, Italy. He was the second oldest of 9 children. When he was 4 years old, his family came to New York and then found themselves unable to get out of Bakersfield. And he remained here his whole entire life. Bakersfield has a way, doesn't it? They were incredibly poor growing up as an immigrant family. That set the stage, I think, for the character of the man we know as Vince, or as his Cal Water co-workers fondly called him, Vinny. The scarce resources the family had growing up caused Vince to be extremely frugal towards the things that he would buy. He never wanted to be in debt to anyone, so he always paid cash. And when he did shop, the Dollar Tree was one of his favorite go-to places. His brother David joked that Vince would shut down the Dollar Tree every night they would play bingo because he would get so many snacks from there. Though he was frugal, he was far from stingy. Vince's frugality extended mainly to himself because he was always putting others first. Perhaps it was the need to take care of so many younger siblings and the lack of early resources. Whatever it was, Vince developed a heart for others at a very early age, and he never stopped putting others first his entire life. One story the family shared with me yesterday that epitomizes Vince's servant and selfless spirit was during his 30-year career at Cal Water. Vince was close to 38 years old when he started working for Cal Water. And though his shift started at 7 a.m., his co-workers would always have coffee ready for them when they arrived because Vince made it a habit of getting to work at 4:30 every morning. And he would spend that time trying to make the day start right for his co-workers. Another example was his yearly tradition of reserving a table at the park on Easter Sundays. Since those benches were first come, first served, he would get there at 5 a.m. year after year after year and sit there until the family could arrive for the Easter lunch. Vince, perhaps most of all, loved his son Jason and his grandson Gino. With all his heart, he loved them. And in the last year, he got to know and love Jason's fiancée, Shelby, and her son, Ezio. Nothing brought him more joy than to see the family that God was forming for his son. But cancer, as we all know, is a horrible thief. Vince fought it hard these last couple of years, having multiple surgeries, but each time the cancer would come back. This last time it came back a little more fiercely than the time before. And Vince was too weak to be able to undergo another operation. He had hoped to live to see May 4th. And in his last week, even as the hospice nurses would come to the house, that was his one major last wish. He had seen Jason bring a grandson into the world, and he had seen Jason meet the love of his life in Shelby, and he desperately wanted to be around for the May 4th wedding date. And I'm going to let Jason tell this story, but if he doesn't have the heart to, I will wrap it up at the end. But there's some very special memories made in Vince's final days that you all need to know about, and it really captures just kind of how God kind of wrapped his arms around this whole process. There was a lot of love, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of service that was given. And for me, I'm thankful that I got to experience some of that. And I'm ruining Jason's opportunity to be able to say anything in the next couple of minutes right now. Jason, you're incredibly loved. So before I hand it over to Jason, I want to make it clear, as I said earlier, that today is a celebration of life. Vince was a member at the Discovery Church for the last 20 years. We know he had this hope within him. And because of that hope, he turns our mourning into dancing. I mean, he turns our grief into eternal joy. And I want to read to you from 1 Thessalonians 4, verses 13 through 18, which will give us, in fact, at the end of this, Paul will say, encourage one another with these words. And that's why I'm reading them to you. For the same reason Paul wrote them 2,000 years ago, they still carry a lot of weight today. He says, brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. For we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and so we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. According to the Lord's word, we tell you that we who are still alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will certainly not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. After that, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so we will be with the Lord forever. That's the resurrection hope. That's the reason why, even though we grieve today, we can grieve with celebration in our hearts. Because there is a glorious and an eternal reunion that is going to take place. And I agree with Apostle Paul. He says, Maranatha. That was his prayer. Come, Lord Jesus. And those of us who have said goodbye to loved ones and have been through this, unfortunately, too many times, that prayer just grows stronger the older we're alive. Come, Lord Jesus. Let's make it happen. We want to be with those that we love forever, and we have that hope because of Vince's faith and belief in Jesus, and we're grateful for that today. I am now going to hand the mic over to Jason to share a few stories and some memories that he has of his dad. Welcome, Jason, to the mic.
First of all, I want to just say thank you for everybody for showing up for my father, man. He wasn't just a good father or papa. He's my best friend. You know, when you get older in life and you're raising a family like your friends are raising families and brothers are raising families, and it just seems like you kind of separate from each other a little bit. And, I used to call my dad like, sorry about it. I called my dad a minimum of 20 times a day. And my dad's like, man, don't you ever work?
He works for me, by the way.
And, luckily, I'm a supervisor for a plumbing company, and I appreciate the time that I have when I'm not working. Spend with my family, and I love my family, man. It's like my dad. Like, at the end of the day, you walk in those doors, and all you have is family, man. And it can just be taken away so fast, you don't even realize it. You know, my father, he was the most simplest man I've ever met in my life. He couldn't even give two He didn't care about himself. He cared about everyone around him, man. His family, his me, the children, man. I would love to be out there, man. My father was today. My dad was cheap too, though, man. He was so cheap with himself. He used to piss me off, man. He was so damn cheap. He wouldn't buy himself nothing, but he'd write me a check for $25,000. Didn't even ask questions. He didn't care. Go buy him a new pair of shoes or a t-shirt. He were hand-me-downs for me. You know, I got a couple funny stories. You know, I could just go on and on about how great my father is, but I don't feel I need to, man. You all know my dad. I mean, Cal Waters on that back aisle, man. It's beautiful to see you guys. Everyone knew Vinny. And I'm proud to say, because I'm a person on this earth that could really say one bad thing about my dad, other than he was cheap with himself. You know, I got a couple stories. You know, I wasn't a perfect child myself either growing up as a child. I struggled. Went on a lot of vacations, a lot of you guys know. And when I come home from my vacations, my stepfather, you know, always put me to work no matter what I've ever done in my life. I appreciate that. Vince would open his doors and I'd just stay with him. And a couple times in life, I probably regret the things I did. But, you know, my dad called me 3 or 4 months ago, man, and Shelby does a lot of laundry, man. I got work clothes. We got 2 kids. She does laundry all the time, man. She's great. She cooks, she cleans. She's that woman. And my dad called me one day and he says, man, I don't know how you guys go through so much laundry soap, dude. He said, I bought a box of Gain. Is Ralph here? Here's Ralph. Ralph used to work on appliances. He's an appliance man. My dad says, man, I don't know how you guys go through so much laundry, man. Ralph said it just takes a little bit of laundry soap. He says, I put God, it's so cheap. He put a date on a box of laundry soap, and he made this laundry soap last over a year. A year for a box of laundry soap. Right now. He called me, and when I was on vacation, I was gone for about 26 months. Bahamas, I don't remember where I was. I got back home after 26 months and I asked my dad when the last time he changed his trash can in his kitchen. He said, it's been there since I left. He just dumps it out, saves the bag. My dad was that cheap with himself. But you know, you gotta love that man because he would have given his shirt off the back to anybody in this room, and we all know that. You know, my dad did. He was simple. He was so simple. He loved his family, man. His family was everything to him. Even if something was going on in the family, he didn't judge. He didn't take sides with anybody. He just loved them for who they were. It didn't matter what. You say my dad was a good papa. My dad was the best papa. He was, he loved that grandchild, man. He spent so much time with that grandchild. I met Shelby and we had NCO and the last 4 weeks at my house were tough. My dad had a couple surgeries prior to this, and his Dr. Kadera called me, the surgeon. He said, man, I cut you. He said, I cut your dad from his neck down to his groin area. Took his kidney. And her dad's walking around my hospital next to him. My dad was strong, man. My dad was just so determined to get back up on his feet and come back home to his family. My father, the last days he was at my house. And the first day he got to my house, we had a hospice. A couple days after he came up to my house, his doctor ordered the hospice out. And, you know, they come out and bathe him, and man, my dad was private. Everyone knows my dad was so private. And he had this good-looking kind of bathing him. And, you know, I told Shelby, I said before hospice sits somewhere, I said, man, I hope this girl isn't ugly, because my dad's going to be really, really embarrassed. And sure enough, man, they sent this girl out, and she wasn't ugly at all. I think she had booby implants, and I'm like, wow, that backfired on us. She came in the house on day one, and she had a little potty mouth on her. My dad was like, man, I love this woman. And she would bathe my dad, and we just made it work. We had to make it work. He was my dad. And the whole time my father was at my house, I've never seen my dad so happy. I've been trying to get my dad to live with us for a long time. My dad was really stubborn. My dad didn't want to be a burden on my new family. And me and Shelby went by, and Gino went by one day just to check on my dad. And my dad was in his kitchen standing there. I just didn't know why he was standing there. He wouldn't have made it back to the living room at that point. He was just kind of leaning up against his counter. And at that point, me and Shelby looked at each other, and Shelby said, Vince, you're going to come home with us. I'm so grateful to have Shelby in my life. And I want to thank you, Shelby, so much. You know, I had to work at this time, and it was tough. You know, you work, I mean, you still got work, life, and kids, and Shelby was so good to my father. I'd come home, I'd see my little dad walk in the back door and see my little bald head best friend sitting on my couch, and Shelby would just cater to me. She's so good. She loved my father. And my father loved her. And my father's only wish. My father had 3 wishes for his child in his life, and one was to have a child, and I accomplished that wish. I had a beautiful little boy. My father's second wish was that I met a really good woman. And due to my child, tapping a woman on the shoulder in church one day, a church that wasn't my church. I didn't care for the church. My father begged me to go to church with him and bring Gino. So we went to church. We went to Discovery Church. Not that it's a bad church, it just wasn't for me. And we sat down in church. Church started. My son tapped Shelby on the shoulder and told her how pretty she was. And at first I was like, oh man, Gino, you know, it's rude. You know, I saw Shelby turn around and she looked in my eyes, and I realized at that point it wasn't so rude. It's kind of crazy from that point. She turned around and looked at me. I I knew something would be there. Whether there was a friendship, I didn't know what it was. I just knew there was something there. I've never looked into a woman's eyes. I've looked into a lot of women's eyes. We all know that. It used to be rowdy, and it was different. It was so different. And we started dating, and my father wasn't one that trusted anybody. I think that just comes in the Italian genes. You know, you got to prove yourself to. My dad, and after time, my dad just fell in love with Shelby. And through the last couple of days, I'd say the last 2 weeks at my house, my father, me and Shelby were engaged to get married, and our wedding was May 4th. And when hospice showed up, I went out with a nurse one day in my front yard, and I said, "How's my dad doing?" She said, "He's not good. He's not good." I told her that we were planning on getting married May 4th, and she said, your father's not going to be here on May 4th. That was tough. And every single day, either a nurse or that cleaning lady would come over and beg them. He would just beg them to keep him alive till May 4th. He wanted to see his only child get married. And I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew it in my heart. And we made a decision to say our vows in front of my father before he passed. And we had immediate family come over, and Doug came over, and we said our vows in front of my father. And after family left, my dad sucked down a beer quicker. Well, actually, he wanted a beer. He wanted to celebrate. And we poured him a beer in a glass, and he spilled it. He was, my father just wasn't doing very good. And he spilled his beer, and we cleaned it up. And I poured him another beer in one of the kids' sippy cups, and my dad sucked that beer down so fast. I was in disbelief. All I could say to him is, "Do you want another beer?" And he said, "Absolutely, that was really good." I'm like, "Yeah, looks like it was really good." Wow. So we got my father another beer, and Shelby about that time was putting on some Italian music. And my dad said, "Get me to my feet. I need to dance with this beautiful woman." I was like, "You haven't walked all day, but okay. Okay, I'll get you to your feet." And I stood my dad up. My father had his last dance. And it was the most beautiful thing I ever witnessed in my entire life. He danced for Shelby. Shelby had to hold him up. The video, my poor father could barely stand, but he wanted that last dance with Shelby. When the dance was over, we set my dad back down on the couch. Shelby went to go change to get her dress off and get some comfortable clothes on. And my father grabbed my hand. And my father told me that was the last wish, and he thanked me. And my father told me he was ready to go to heaven. And it killed me. It killed me here. My father said that was as selfish as it sounds. I'm going to take care of my father forever. I love taking care of my father. I felt my father was happy in our home. And that night, my father got really confused, and at this time I was giving him a little bit of morphine because he was in a lot of pain. I took him to bed. And my father asked to have Shelby come in and give him a hug goodnight. Felt like a 20-minute hug. Found me in the room going, man, where's Shelby at? She's still in her hug with my father. He wouldn't let her go. And I got a little story to share. The next morning, throughout this whole time, I wasn't getting much sleep, man. I was working in between, coming home, taking care of my dad, helping Shelby, and my mother texted me that morning, and why my mother got this over her phone, none of us know. She's a booer. She's not even E.sposito. And my mom got an email or something, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, my mother got an email about my mom's mom, Maria Matthews, and it was a celebrate her life. She passed, 6 years ago? She passed in 2006, and my mom got a message that it was a celebration for Maria Matthews, which is my father's mother. And that was just so weird. Why she would get something like that? And my mom's always had this weird connection. I think my mom's just weird, but she's always just had this really weird connection with, I don't know what you call it, spiritual, just spiritual, maybe it's just that spiritual relationship she has with God. I think she's a freak, me, personally. I've never experienced that, so I'm like, yeah, you're weird. But I was having coffee. When I saw that, it woke me up, and I went out and started coffee, and I was out having coffee, and I usually don't check on my dad until 6 o'clock, because usually the neighbors can hear him snore, and he slept so good at my house. And I was out having coffee, and my mom sent me a text. I have a bad feeling about today, or my mom says, I got that text, and there's a reason why I got it. And once again, I was sipping on my coffee, just thinking my mom was weird. And it started kind of pulling me. My mom, I think, sent me a text that you checked on your dad. And it was 5 o'clock in the morning. When I open the door, it cracks, and it usually wakes him up, but I didn't want to wake my father up. Someone just ate at me, and I thought, I need to go check on my dad. I just had some gut feeling after talking to my mom, or reading my mom's text. And I walked to my father's room. And his feet were off the bed. My father was making this gurgling sound. This is the most horrific sound ever in my life. I pulled my father up. At that point, my father didn't even know who I was. I was just in disbelief, like, man, how does this happen so fast? We went to the hospital, and I asked the nurse, how is this going to get better? The day before, my father was out in my front yard. It was a beautiful day, and I cut his hair, shaved his head, and I cut his fingernails for him, and I just thought everything was just fine, man. It just happened so fast. And I moved my father to a room, and my father's family was there. It was nice to see everybody show up for my father. Family, just no matter what was going on in our family, and it didn't matter to my dad. And I want to thank everybody for just showing up. I sat in that hospital, stayed one night in that hospital. Next morning I got out there for a little while and I came back up and I felt myself just looking at my father. He looked so peaceful. My father looked better laying in that hospital bed at peace than he's looked in the last couple months. His skin, he just looked at peace. And I felt myself just staring at my father, just counting his breaths. And it got to the point to where I felt like I was just losing my shit. I couldn't count his breaths no more. I couldn't do it. But that's how my father wasn't even worried. He was not responsive to anything. And I want to thank everybody that was there. When my father took his last breath, because I couldn't be there. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I just couldn't keep counting his breaths. My father. And it killed me. I just want to thank everybody for showing up today, man. I want to thank the E.spositos for just being there for my dad. Shelby, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for caring for my father. There's no one in this world that could have cared for him any more than you did. And I appreciate that so much.
Jason is he's a really good communicator, and in the last few weeks I felt like I kind of got the play-by-play of a lot that was going on. So I think with Jason's dad in his home, those 20 or 30 calls started coming to me. And the one thing I noticed throughout the course of that time, and I told Jason, as early as yesterday, I think that you guys should have no regrets at all, 100% for the way that you reciprocated what Vince stood for all his life, right? He was selfless, he was a man of service, and you guys returned the favor, in loads in the last few weeks. And I think the peace that your father had in that hospital stems from, the way that you guys were able to serve him as he said goodbye to this earth. Don't have any regrets. You guys loved him well, very well. And it's going to be a long-lasting memory in my mind. Jason sent me the video of Shelby having that last dance, and that legitimately was the last time he was on his feet. I can't think of a more beautiful picture for that to be the final scene, really, of his life. We're going to have a time of open mic. I just want to say, kind of one more thing. I did a celebration of life a few weeks ago for another gentleman, and as you sit and you talk with the families and you kind of get a sense for really this generation and what they've done and how they've lived. There's a theme that runs through it in conversations for me, and it's something that I think all of us need to be reminded of. And because we're at a point in time where the pace of life, where we're so much more productive, right? Because of one of these. But we miss so much of what I think God wants to introduce to us because our nose are buried in a phone or in a computer. And with both Vince and this other gentleman that I helped say goodbye to a couple of weeks ago, it was overwhelming to me that these were men cut from a different cloth because they made themselves available for people. They were always there for others, and so much of it had to do with just the decision to make people a priority, and they gave time, and they made an impact because they were able to give time. And if we're going to honor a legacy of a man like that, then I think we need to challenge ourselves, even today. When we go home here, how are we going to choose to spend our time just a little bit differently? Because I think our own, if we were to craft our own goodbyes, 20, 30, 50 years from now, I hope our stories mimic the stories of men like Vince, because they are lives worth imitating. And so I challenge you with that. I do want to invite anybody up here that would like to share some fond memories, serious or humorous. Feel free to grab the mic from me and yeah.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming. I'm Jason's other dad, and 47 years ago I married this woman and she had a little child. He was just the cutest thing, and he was in diapers, so it was my duty to change his little butt once in a while. And Vince and I became the best of friends. And there were times where I'd have a friend bringing me home from work for whatever reason, and there'd be a cow water truck parked in front of my house. And my friends would say, "Who is at your house?" I said, "Oh, that's my wife's ex-husband." And I got the strangest looks from people. And I go, "Oh, it's not like that. We're all friends and family." And there were times I'd have him, he'd come over and just, "You want a beer?" "Oh, I don't know, not really." And it wasn't 2 minutes. "Yeah, I'll have that beer." I said, "Well, it's over in the refrigerator, and you go and help her stuff. Our home is your home." And he would come over and have dinner with us several times. And he would come over when Jay would be on vacation and be so mad at his son. And we'd talk, and I would say, "Don't be mad at him. He just made some bad decisions. And one day he's going to be a shining star in our lives." And he has become that. Look, Lord knows I'm a plumber for 30 years, and I never thought in a million years that he would become the plumber that he is. And I cherish the fact that Vince was here till the end, and Jay watched him and took over. Thank you very much.
My name's Gary Murphy. I work with Vinny for 20 plus years. And one thing I want to open up with is we all live in a small community, right? You never know who you're going to run into, who you're going to intermingle with. And as soon as I got here, I sent a picture of this guy right here, Doug, to my wife. My kids know his kids. We've known each other for years. And lo and behold, we became friends with Minnie and Nick that are related to Vince. So I just want to put that out there, that you never know who you're going to become friends with and who you're intermingle with. And that's one thing that's very important to me in friendships. So, but like I said, another thing I want to share is Vince's son had to share some memories about his dad in his last days, right? So my father-in-law, he died about 3 or 4 years ago, and when I first met my wife, I hated him, man. He was something, and he was a 20-year Marine vet, 2 times in Vietnam. He got out of the Marine Corps and became a police officer, right? So I go over to the house, and my wife's telling me, "Yeah, we're going to go to San Diego, and we're going to watch my brother get off the boat." He came off the Westpac, right? And got everything planned out. And her dad says, you're not going, you're not family, right? I'm like, I want to tell him, F you, you know what I mean? And in his last days, I was there for him. We were like, he was more of a father to me than my own dad. And I went through the same trials you went through, man. I went to Rosewood, and I would go down there early in the morning before I go to work, and I would get coffee for him, and they would wheel him down, and he thought it was like the greatest thing, and all these old people would be down there waiting for me because they knew I could give them coffee. So relationships are very important, and the things you do in people's last days of their lives are very important. But the one thing about Vince is, I remember meeting him, and it was very true that he would be at work early in the morning. Like, he'd be there 2 hours before he's supposed to be at work, and he'd be reading the paper, right? And I was a meat reader, and that's how I got to know Vince. And he was a real genuine guy. He was a loyal person. He had a lot of good qualities, and I know he loved you, Jason. And I got an opportunity to work with you at West Valley. I was working for Calwater, and I got to know you. And I know your dad was a really good guy, and he told me a lot of stories about you. When you work with somebody for many years, you have a lot of conversations, right? And he thought the world of you. You know what I mean? And now's your time to pass those on to your son. You know what I mean? But Vinny, he was a thinker like me. And sometimes it can be a good thing, sometimes it can be a bad thing, right? So, overthink situations, and you can kind of lead up to situations, but if you overthink them, it can cause extra stress in your life. You know what I mean? And I always could relate to Vinny on that type of deal. But in general, things I'm going to remember about Vinny is his laughter, his hand movement, and just being a genuine person. So with that said, I know that Vinny's in heaven because I used to attend a Bible study with Vinny, and he was a believer, and I know that he's with God now, so we could all have that peace. And I just want you to know that, Jason. We had a conversation earlier, and Vinny was what most people should be, just a genuine guy. All right? So God bless you.
You can't make me tell the story.
Hey, that's what people tell about this.
Oh, no.
I'm shocked every time I see you.
All right, here's the deal. Jason, we was at Jason's house yesterday and looked through pictures and stuff. It's not a sad thing, it's a funny thing. So, my buddy here said, you ain't got a hair on your ass if you don't tell this story. Well, guess what? I guess he doesn't. So here's the deal, I'm going to tell you the story. Jason got back from one of his vacations, little extended vacations, and I guess he was getting ready to go on a date. He hasn't seen a girl in a couple of years, but whatever. So he's in the shower, in the bathroom, taking a shower, and then using a razor to do a little manscaping. We understand that, right? Okay. So then the next day, Jason wakes up and he sees Vincent, my brother, shaving. And Jason says, Dad, what did you use that razor for? What's what I shave with? Well, I just got shaved. Oh man, there's kids in here. I just got done using that yesterday to shave. Oh my God. So I can only imagine Vincent, after Jason's telling him where he used that to shave, and Vincent's going like this, thinking, so. I just wanted to tell you that story. Jason was supposed to say it, but I guess he must have used it to shave the hair off his ass because he couldn't come up here. So, anyways, guys, hey, we appreciate you all coming out. Man, I could sit here for days telling Vincent, I did lose my best bingo partner, but hey, and yeah, he did, and I was when he did. Every time we go to bingo, he would have 3 or 4 bags, Dollar Tree. And sometimes he'd have, I can't believe I spent this much money. This stuff only should only be 50 cents. Well, Vincent, you're not the 50-cent store, you're at the dollar store. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was real frugal, but man, he was the most awesomest, most caringest brother that anyone would ever ask for. And he surely is going to be missed. I had some questions to my wife. I said, you know what? I got to call Vincent because he's the only one who can answer this. Well, unfortunately, Vincent wasn't there. So I asked my sister Cindy, and she was able to answer the question. So yeah, he's still missed, and it's just hard to believe that he's even gone. You know, but we loved him very much, and thank you, Cal Water, for coming out, and you know, and everybody that showed up, all the family, Harry, TJ, I mean everybody. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And you have another story. Frankie, Vincent was our partner. Come on, let's go.
What?
You can tell me.
That he always wanted to play with me, play with me? Not that way. Hello? Yeah, he always wanted to sit by me. I was a big and I went out and he always wanted to run. And he was happy jumping around. So that happened about 4 times. Then we were on a road trip on the 101. It was me, Jim, Jerry, Ryan, and Christy were heading to the California Speedway. We get there and Vincent starts screaming on the top of his lungs. And Jim and I'm in the beam between him and Jim, and they just started arguing. But after that, it was all well and good. We got to proceed to race. And Jimmy Johnson won that game. That's about all I can say. I'm just lost for words. I don't know what to say, but I'm missing. I know if we go play bingo again, he just beat me. But I'm sorry. Oh, he'll make me love this. So, thanks everybody for being right on. I don't know what to say. I'm glad you're all here. Thank you.
TJ, you're next.
How you doing? I'm Uncle Vince's, my dad's brother. He's a great example of a father, and I was talking to my dad a while back, and he was talking about Uncle V, and he said he's just the best brother that you could ever ask for. He's the best uncle, he's the best dad, you know. But I remember probably one of my most vivid memories of Uncle Vincent. You know, throughout my life, he's always been there with Jason, but my dad raised me as a single dad most of his life, was no mother, and until my later years. But as a baby, my dad was single and Uncle Vince was single. And you know, my dad had me and Uncle Vince had Jay. So I remember 1988, I was probably 8 years old, okay? Maybe Jason's 12 or 13 at the time. Most kids get to go to Disneyland for vacation, you know? So our dads took us on vacation, and so we're on the road, and they're like, where are we gonna go? We're like, we're going to Tijuana, you know? So me and Jay and my dad, you know, 2 single guys taking their kids on vacation. Where else are you gonna go? To Tijuana, but good times. I remember Jason was babysitting me in the hotel. Got real late. I don't know when it went. They were out on the town, and me and Jason got to hang out in the hotel, and we had a lot of fun. Went to the swimming pool, and anyway, you know, Uncle V was just the best, and he was a great example of every man in the room. When you have a family, when you have kids, he's a great example of what you should do for them and your family. So I hope we can all take away and learn a lesson from Uncle Vincent and be the best man and the best dad and the best brother you can be. Anyway, thank you, and I love you guys. That's it. Thank you.
Are there any others?
All right.
That's what the bingo lady says. Are there any others?
Here's none.
Most favorite is niece right here.
It might take me a second. Please, take your time. I was blessed with a lot of uncles. And I'm sorry if it offends anyone, but Uncle Vincent was the best. He taught me how to drive. After church every Sunday, he would let me drive to Costco. And we get a hot dog and churro every time. One trip we bought these matching flannels. And I guess, he came to Grandma Cindy's when I lived there every day. I saw him every day. And my Uncle Vincent, we all know, he was a goofball. He would do anything to make somebody else laugh. And he did every day. And it's hard to accept that I'll never see his name pop up on my phone again. Oh no, I'm just gonna miss him. So we need to figure out who's gonna be at the park on Easter at 5 a.m.
I'll do it.
Okay, that's all I gotta say.
Okay, so I've been in the family for a long time, but Uncle Vincent was the first of David's brothers to be so open and so caring and treated me as if I was a part of the family the whole time. I remember going over to his house with my mom before Jason got back from his vacation. And my mom would help him with things all the time. He would always talk to my mom, so I got to see him quite a bit when I was younger, so we would go help him. And on how the pastor said he was just so selfless and loving. He was a very genuine person, and I'm so honored to have been able to be a part of his family to get to know him. He was the best.
I'm Shelby. I'm Jason's old lady now. And still that father figure boy that I named him. The grandpa boy my son named him. This guy would describe him as he sacrificed a lot. Not just because he was sheep. Family was his everything. I think I've heard everything about everyone. People at Calwater, I've heard stories there, family. He even told me when I was first meeting everyone and I was very nervous. He was like, oh, you're going to hit it off with Lori. You're going to hit it off with Kat. And when I did, he said, uh-oh. But he just went above and beyond for everything. He knows I'm an old soul. I love old movie stars, and he took me antiquing for my birthday, and he was so determined that we would find something, I Love Lucy, or Golden Girls, and he wouldn't stop until we found something. I'm more scared to cry in front of people than talk in front of people. But he was so accepting of me, almost a complete stranger, and my son. And that's not easy to accept, to bring into your family when family is what you really take care of and you take a lot of pride in and possess. But he accepted me and Nancy right off the bat. There's no doubt about it. And all the E.spositos have been amazing. Even the Willard family just accepting me and Ezio. So thank you, everyone.
I got one. Hello, I'm Jason Young's brother. I remember, where did Vince work before Calwater? Okay, so we were there doing something. You were, I don't know, we had all the boys in the car, and we got out, and Vince wanted to show me something. He told me to hold up my hand, and he closed all my fingers besides the one. And I'm looking at my mom, like, what do I do now? Because I was just terrified I was going to get in trouble. So anyways, every time we'd go there, we'd always take off, and I'd be in the back seat, and I'd wave to him, and he would just sit there waiting until he couldn't see us anymore. And this last time he was there, he was waving, and I just came up and gave him one of those things when we made the turn. But that was my story for this.
That's a great transition to the final word today, that Vince, you're number one in our hearts. This doesn't have to be the final words, but I do want to kind of just briefly wrap things up and give you guys a chance to continue to visit. If anybody wants to share anything else after that, it's fine, but also give permission to those that do need to move on to other things with their day. But really very simply, I just want to read a blessing and prayer over everyone here, especially the immediate family. His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you his peace. When the Lord gives you his peace, it is a peace that passes all understanding. Can't really figure it out. You might feel guilty about having it at times. But he offers a shalom, a peace that just overwhelms any of the difficulties and the grief and the struggles that we would have in this life. And as we've mentioned a few times before, the reason it's true is because of the hope that we have that this is not the final goodbye. This is a great sharing of stories, and we're talking about Vince right now. One day we're going to be talking with him about these same stories, and it's going to be a great reunion. Be blessed. May his peace go with you.